Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham, Monday night Fanzone. How are you doing? Season is back off and running, and we have already been in 90 minutes more entertained by Tottenham than we were for a full 38 games and the rest of them all put together last year. Joined by Brad. Nice timing, Brad. How are you doing?
Well, hopefully okay. It's
literally impeccable timing there, unlike Davinson Sanchez tackling ability. Anyway, I won't get into too much of that yet. He actually played quite well. Joined, as you can see, by Justin and Brad. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you so much for having us on. It's been a while, as we were saying beforehand. It's been a while, so no, I'm looking forward to this one, definitely.
Yeah, and it's Monday Night Fan Zone. You are the fans watching as well, so get involved. A couple of people have already. Eugene, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Eugene.
And Aglair as well.
Hey.
Big up. We should have created a bit more. That's my only real gripe, but enjoyed our football. Some excellent performances, and some under par, but overall was happy. And a point is okay, but 3 would have been better, of course. I mean, I was out. I was at a kid's birthday party, setting up food and everything, being knackered there, looking at the scores online, and it sounded like a roller coaster there. But let's crack on. Justin, 2 points dropped, or a good point considering how the game panned out?
I think if you're going on the basis of how the game panned out, you may say, okay, 2 points dropped. Myself, I'll be brutally honest, I wasn't expecting anything. I thought the way that pre-season had gone, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch and everything else that had been going on, I kind of just sat there and thought, if we get anything out of Brentford, anybody who sits there and thinks, oh, we should have, turned them over, things like that. This was the same Brentford that turned us over, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last year. So they're not, struggling by any stretch of imagination. I think they did that as well without Ivan Toney then. So, they are a very good team. They're very well set up. And I think, to be fair, it was a really good positive point. I think there are lots of positives that we can take from that game. And to be fair, when you look at the harmony, the unity of the players from sort of start to finish, you could see that. And I know you sort of said at the beginning, we've seen more attacking than we have in the past 38 games. I'd probably say you could go back about 4 years to be honest with that. I
was trying to leave the show on a positive spin. I didn't want to be too negative and say the last 4 years.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I certainly think it was a point gained. I think we've got to be realistic here. We've sold arguably one of our best players ever. We haven't replaced him. And we're having to deal with the aftermath of that. So, it was clear to see that I think if he'd have been in the team, I think it would have been a different kettle of fish altogether. I think we would have won quite comfortably. It does show.
Yeah. We'll be talking about. Sorry.
All I was going to say was, I think when we take all of that into it, obviously we're not going to go into it now, but I think that is why, for me, it was a positive point, really, especially with everything that's being considered.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about a certain traitor. Not a traitor, of course, later on. But yeah, please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe if you haven't done so already. Notification bell as well. Brad's also got a channel. He'll let you know where what you can expect on there at the end, but it is in the description. Mark Cousins, how you doing, Mark? Big up, Chris, JJ, and Brad. How many other teams will go there and get anything? That is a good point there. What did you think, Brad? I didn't watch the game, as I say. I only saw the highlights. Looking on BBC, it looked like we had so many shots in the second half. Match of the Day showed 1.
They missed a chance that Son had near the end, where I think the keeper saved it with his foot. If Son had gone across the goal, it would have gone in. Listen, when Postecoglou took over and I started looking into his teams and everything, and we all know that his teams never start off well because he's trying to get a message across and the players have got to do it instinctively rather than what he's telling them to do. So I looked at the first 2 games, Brentford away, Man United at home. I thought, they're difficult games first up. I'll be happy with a draw in both games. I'll be happy with a point in both games. So we got a point at Brentford. Brentford I think the last time they lost at home was in October. I think if you look at the match itself, I think the penalty was soft, but if that had been Sonny going down, and like that, we'd have all said penalty. So you can't really complain that much. Brentford had their chances, but then so did we. The only time I was disappointed was in the last few minutes where we were pinning them back, and I thought, hey, we might nick this. Just for once, we could nick this. And was disappointed when the final whistle went. But then overall, I think at a point there, as Justin was saying, it's a difficult place to go to. They know this. Thomas Frank is a good manager. He knows how to play teams. He does his homework.
Yeah.
Lots of positives out of the game. Few negatives, which I'm sure we go on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I was pleased with it. Yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth pointing out, Justin, as well, that this is a manager who plays an attacking game, which, like you said, we haven't had for 3 years. He's also lost the player that we've built the team around for the last however many years. When Pochettino came in, took him at least a season to really get into the swing of things. I think any Spurs fan who's expecting miracles and wonderful winning football from Postecoglou in the first game, I don't think there's many of them. So it's going to take a little while to get going. But there were so many positives there for sure.
Oh, I mean, you sort of look at it from top to bottom. I think there were certain players who stepped up. You know, there were certain players who didn't, which I assume we'll probably come on to later on. But in terms of from a positive element, you know, you're looking at it and you're thinking, you know, I quite liked, although he was unlucky for the second goal, I thought Van der Ven sort of seemed to settle in quite nicely. You know, although it was only a cameo at the end or the beginning, you know, with him and Romero, they seemed to be quite knowledgeable in terms of what the other one was going to do. So there seemed to be sort of a partnership you felt that could build with that. I thought, you know, the midfield as a whole, I thought was probably the best part of our team. You know, I mean, I must admit, I did sit there and think, are we going to see Skipp go out on loan? Because obviously with Basuma probably coming in, obviously you got Højbjerg, you know, you always knew that James Maddison was going to play, and boy, you know, did it ever point out that we needed him. But I was like, is Skipp going to be one to lose out? Because obviously with Papsar as well, you know, so I was sort of pleased with that, you know, and then obviously the attackers, you know, they did okay, but I think it just shows you can't take £100 million of world-class talent out of a team and then expect any. As I said, I didn't expect anything, especially when it was on the day of the season. I genuinely didn't expect anything. So I must admit, I was really pleased. I think considering the preseason was up and down in terms of, you know, games being missed and having to try and do X, Y, and Z with it, I think that, you know, it is going to be very entertaining, but there is a long way to go in terms of what needs to be done, not just with incomings. I don't think we need to load those. There's a lot of outgoings. Lot needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Cousins here for the first time since Poch. I want to watch us. There'll be a lot of those. I'm at the Man United game. It'll be very interesting to see how we get on there. But Brad, Kane leaves. Shock horror if you haven't been reading the news.
Is Kane gone? No, I thought he was injured.
I was pretty angry that it was left until 2 days before the thing. My dad asked me if Postecoglou said he knew about it from the start, why on earth did he play him in pre-season? And that's because who in Singapore wants to go and watch Tottenham if Harry Kane is playing there? It was all a money thing and everything like that. Barcelona Shakhtar game, I would imagine he knew he was leaving, so you know, last home game, give the fans a good send off. But how do we get our goals? And it's worth pointing out as well, Harry Kane in his first game at Bayern didn't get a trophy, so I have put a bet on Spurs for the FA and League Cup because I am convinced now we are going to win a trophy before he does at Bayern. Where do we get our goals from now?
By the way, I had a tenner on 3-3 yesterday as well. So at half time, I thought, oh, this is looking good. But what I was intending doing, if it got to 3-3, I was going to cash out. Hoping that we'd win from there. But yeah, no, look, I think we've been spoiled by Harry Kane, and it's no use trying to replace him because we won't. You won't replace Harry Kane. You've just got to find a decent centre forward that can score goals. At the moment, Richarlison's not doing it. Maybe he will. Who knows? Maybe you might get a goal and that'll be it. He'll get loads. Yeah. I think that we have to look for another forward. This Oban or Gift Oban seems to be quite a decent prospect.
Do you think we will get one? I think it will be Richarlison until January, and then Tony's in for cut price.
Well, that's another
that's
another possibility that I think I was talking about the other day. That we might wait until January. At the moment, the way that we play, I think that we're going to get goals from other areas, from midfielders, because they're getting in the box. And much as I don't like to keep bringing up Pochettino, but it is very similar to those days where you had people like Ericsson, Dele Alli, all contributed with their goals. I think that might help us in a way get over the 30 goal a season Harry Kane situation. But look, you look at that last chance that Richarlison had. You could argue Harry Kane would have put that away. You look at the chance. He would put it the other side. It would have gone in. So no, I think we might. This Gift Oban is quite an interesting one, because if I'm right, his main striker at Celtic was, I can't get the name right, the Japanese guy. And he's not exactly a true centre forward, was he? He was just like a forward. So you could maybe, with this guy, or Oban, that's a German motorway, isn't it? Oban. You could, maybe with Maddison. Yeah, it's sort of play that maybe Maddison could feed in. And you saw a few instances on Sunday where Maddison tried to feed in Richarlison and just missed, didn't he? Just didn't get it quite right.
There's elements there that when Maddison gets the ball, you can see Richarlison turns around, runs forward because he knows the coming. Yeah. So I think Richarlison is just a goal short of a bit of a confidence.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. Yeah,
in terms of replacing Harry Kane. Well, unless you can bring Brazilian Ronaldo back in his prime, you ain't replacing Harry Kane because he's just one off. So we've got to get away from that, I think.
Getting back to the situation with the sale, I was incredibly annoyed the fact that we left it so late. But if Postecoglou said that he knew from day one that Kane said, if there's a deal done, I'm going, but if there's not, I'm quite happy to stay, then why didn't, I could be wrong here. From the thing I get is that Daniel Levy didn't ask for any money. He just waited for them to keep bidding. And then eventually said, oh, that's enough. Why didn't he say on day one, we want this much money?
Yeah, or don't bother talking to us.
Or don't bother. And then maybe they might have signed him a bit sooner and we wouldn't be in this situation. But that's, it's all hindsight now. No, we're not going to replace Harry Kane, but it doesn't mean that we can't find a decent replace or some decent player to play there. I still think defence is an issue.
Yeah, we're talking about that later on. Yep. Mark Cousins, come on, man. Harry who? I never hated him anyway.
Season one, wasn't he?
Of course. But yeah, Justin, what would you see? I saw someone say that Son is wasted out on the left at this stage of his career. He should be down the middle. For me, the three of those can be interchangeable, I think. Richarlison, Son, Kulusevski, or Solomon if he comes in for one of them. But it's going to take a little bit of time. I was impressed where Maddison got the ball. Richarlison's making the runs. They say about a striker, the time to worry is when you're not getting chances because it means you're not making the runs. If you're making the runs and missing chances, at least one at some point it's going to go in. In terms of replacing Harry Kane, if we go like for like, we're never replacing Harry Kane because let's face it, there's no one like him. Brad mentioned there about Gift Orban with not an actual striker. Liverpool in their heyday on the clock didn't have a number 9. They're 3 forwards. So I think that's probably the way to go. Would you make of the striker situation and replacing Kane and the way it was sold so late? And do you think we'll get anyone this window to fill that void or wait until January?
To be fair, I must admit, I was livid. I was absolutely livid. I'm with Brad in a sense of, this whole ridiculous notion that Levy just thought, I'll see how long they can go and then I'll get rid of him. Just why? Why does it have to do that? Why could he not have just turned around and do what Borussia Dortmund did? Jude Bellingham, what they did with Jadon Sancho. Yep. This is the price. This when you pay it by. If not, jog on. We carry on. End of that. The only person who put any sort of imposement on there was Harry Kane himself. I mean, how can anybody turn around? And if you look at it, it's no different to Man City selling Kevin De Bruyne. It's no different to, Man United selling Bruno Fernandes. People like that, big clubs selling their best players on the day the season kicks off, right? Forget all of what had happened. It was on the day the season kicked off. There he was, having his medical at Bayern Munich. I mean, that was just ridiculous. It was all ridiculous. And honestly, I genuinely felt that we had no chance at Brentford, because I just sat there and I thought, one of the things, that I've sort of looked at, and from what I saw and really I found quite alarming, was we scored 2 goals, but I didn't believe from watching the game that they were going to come from the front 3. I didn't. I thought that they would come from other places. I thought Maddison might get them, maybe Basuma might get them. But the problem was Sonny didn't look like himself. I don't know what it is with Sonny. I said I was actually at the game against Shakhtar. Didn't look himself at all. I know obviously he's now captain, so let's hope he can embrace that and take that on. But I almost looked at it and just felt that, Richarlison at the moment, I know that there's been talk that he might have a knock or things like that he's having to try and play with. But again, if he has got a knock, why is he having to play a game?
Yeah.
Because the owners have allowed it to be that the only players that we've got are the ones that were there. I mean, apart from Solomon, there was nothing else on, that we could really sort of turn to and use. And, it just really is frustrating. I do feel that Tottenham, I mean, as I said, I've seen the links with Gift Orban, and, I think I've done what everybody else has done, looked at the YouTube clips and thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. Myself, personally, I do think Tottenham have to either use this opportunity to really embed what they're trying to do with Postecoglou, and whether that be they get Gift Orban, and whether they get, I know there's talk of Eze from Crystal Palace. I quite like Michael Lise, who's there, who's got like a £35 million release clause. I think that would be a good shout. But, if this money is going to be used, to me, it's either got to be used one of 2 ways. It's either got to be, we go big and we go get Dusan Vlahovic, right? Because we know that
is he going to come? No Champions League?
Well, he's not got any European football with Juventus.
That's true.
Not being funny, he's got nothing there. So they need to sell him because they want to buy Lukaku. You turn around, you put 60 million quid on the table. They can then use that to go and buy Lukaku. So from that aspect, you go big with someone like him, because then you've got an out-and-out striker that, okay, I don't think he will score the same amount of goals as Harry Kane does, but he will certainly score a darn sight more than I think Richarlison will. Or you use this as an opportunity to build for the future. So you go and get Tapsoba, you go and get a proper left, not a left back, but you either get competition for the wing, for the fullbacks. I don't feel that looking at Emerson, he's really got much competition, because Porro just is a terrible right back. He's great as a winger, and I personally he should be converted to a winger, but I don't think he's a right back at all. So I think we need another right back. Obviously we look at the left back situation. If that's what we're going to keep Ben Davies for, then that's fine. But ultimately, I'd use that money to go and get Tapsoba, perhaps try and get Eze or Conor Gallagher or Elise or someone like that, and then use them to go and get Gift Orban. But otherwise, it's got to be go big, and for me, it has to be Dusan Vlahovic, because I think we should have money still. Bearing in mind, if you look at the squad we've got, I counted it last night. At the moment, on the books, 42 first-team players. We've got 5 goalkeepers. It's ridiculous, So I don't think that we should be turning around and worrying about that. We need to, if we've got this guy in and we've got him for the long haul, we either go big with him, or we back him in terms with youth that he can develop, and then we give him time. But in terms of what we got now, no, absolutely not.
I'd just like to make the point that none of us know, none of them, anyone out there in social media or watching the show, none of us know the actual money situation as regards to, have we spent the Kane money already, or is it money there? As a lot of the money that we had put aside have paid off for like Kulusevski and these sort of players. None of us, unless you're a management accountant or a financial accountant at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, we don't know. We don't know.
The one thing we do know, though, is that there was like 50 million pounds.
Yeah, that's there. Yeah, that's available.
That hasn't been taken.
Yeah.
So we know there's at least 50 million pounds there for definite. So ultimately, I still feel though that this is a failing, that we have gotten to a point where we've got players on our books that don't want to be there, that don't care, and we just can't get them out the door. That to me is the most disappointing thing, is that almost it has a feel of it that we're going to turn around and be like, I think you can work with these players, and that can't happen. It just can't happen. Simple as that.
I mean, we've spent 40 odd million on Van der Vaart, and we've spent 40 million on Maddison. So, and that was before the Kane money wasn't guaranteed. I mean, up until Thursday evening, the Kane money wasn't guaranteed. So we've spent money. So I'm hoping, based on that, and it's only speculation, based on that the Kane money is available for players, and we know that obviously this means that the price will go up. But if we've got the money available, then go for it. We've got 3 weeks.
To be fair to yourself, Brad, this is one of the things. I mean, you were talking about Gift Orban, but why is this deal not done a week ago? Why is it?
Yeah.
Why is it we've turned around? Tottenham never do that. It should be a case, because the crazy thing about it was, in the week leading up to Kane being sold, Gift Orban scores a hat trick. I mean, you just turn around and you're just shooting yourselves in the foot. Just get the deal done. Worst case of Kane stage, you've got a player there for the future, but the club needs to really look at just, even if it means taking a little bit less, getting these players out the door. The amount of dead wood that we have got is embarrassing. We were hearing sources coming out that they were going to rip up contracts. They were going to turn around and, just get players out the door. So far, it's been Harry Winks, Lucas Moura, and Harry Kane.
That's it. Yeah, one of them we didn't want to go.
Yeah, and to me, I'm just looking at it and thinking, how have we reached a point that we have players that are comfortable to be there?
I had a discussion with a guy at work who is sort of 2 bits above me. He's a Liverpool supporter, about the Kane sale, and this is only his speculation, so there's no proof of anything. He was saying that, remember on Thursday when the deal was going to go through, then suddenly it was, there's been a hold up for some reason. Well, his theory is that Kane has, in his contract for leaving Spurs, has got, say, £5 million if he doesn't ask to be sold. Levy has said, well, no, you said you wanted to go, so we're selling you, you're not getting that £5 million. So Kane has argued, well, actually, no, I've never asked you to ask for a transfer. So whilst that was going on, Levy went to Bayern and tried to get £5 million more from Bayern so that he could pay Harry Kane the £5 million. So that's the theory that this guy came out with. And to be honest, we know a leopard never changes its spots. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So we could have the most money in the whole world. We could have billions. Daniel Levy would still quibble over 2 or 3 million for a player. I guarantee that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, question for you, Justin. I don't know if you saw it come up. Did you?
Yeah, I did. I mean, as I said, it is still there. So it's just, as I said, due to personal things, I can't do as many of these as I sort of said to yourself, Chris, at the beginning. It is still there. I think it's just more of I think they were saying they do it as an audio sort of thing. So I think if you look it back up again, it should be on there. But as I say, I just now myself just do the odd one here or there, really. So yeah, my understanding is it is still there. So you'll just have to have another look for it in that case.
Yeah, and that was from Maddison Matters. Cheers for watching and getting your comments in, and brings us nicely on. Maddison and Bissouma. Talk about Bissouma first. My dad said man of the match. I'm assuming that means kind of held everything together, won the ball, gave it to other people. Again, I didn't see the game. But yeah, we'll come to you, Brad. Bissouma. We'll go on to Maddison a bit later on. But Bissouma, a new lease of life, this guy. He was brilliant in pre-season as well. And just, if Conte utilised him, what a player he had.
He was immense yesterday. I mean, fully deserved the man of the match. if he plays like that for the whole of this season, we've got ourselves it's almost like a new player. It really is. So it just shows you. I mean, not only Basuma, but the rest of the team. It just shows you what shackles they must have been under Conte. And to be fair, previous to that, Mourinho. I know that Basuma wasn't playing for Mourinho, but yeah, and it's just that he's been given this responsibility for one thing. And that's why I was pleased he wasn't given the captaincy, because I thought, well, if you're saying giving him this responsibility, then don't give him too much, sort of thing, because it, let's take it time, step by step. No, he was brilliant because he's doing what Basuma did for Brighton when we signed him. We never played him that way. So
I mean, I'm really excited. I know it's a long way off. Him and Bentancur in the middle of midfield, and then Maddison slightly further forward. And Maddison Matters says, I told everyone, Basuma didn't get player of the season for Brighton 2 seasons in a row. He was amazing alongside Maddison on Sunday. But Justin, Basuma for you, a new lease of life. I was so delighted when we signed him, because for me, he's a midfielder who can do everything and do everything well. Not a couple of things well, but he can be a utility player. He can do everything well. And if he gets a run in that side, like Brad says, has the responsibility, Postecoglou said, you're my midfielder, holding midfielder, whatever the position is. A real player on our hands. As we knew, like Maddison Madders said, about Brighton 2 seasons in a row, player of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is that it's clear to see that Basuma was a little bit like Jed Spence, in that it was a signing the club made that they felt that Conte could work with and that he could mould and get the best out of him. Clearly, that was not going to work, as we'd seen with a lot of the signings that were made last year. They were signings that the club, were going to make and try and get Conte to work within. And when you're going into those realms, he should have never been in the job in the first place. So, but absolutely, looking at him, it was the Basuma of old. It was the one, that was actually the one that was bursting forward, really trying to get, like box to box type of midfielder that we've been screaming for, that sort of helped in terms of, that you looked at and you thought, you know what, this is a guy who it was almost like a new signing. And I think with him and Maddison, it almost allowed for, and I think it's clear that Skipp and Sarr will be the number 6, sort of sitting deep and just trying to protect the defence and working from there. And personally, I don't have a problem with that. I think the only thing we probably then need is a more sort of either, it will depend obviously what happens with Lo Celso, because obviously I know there's talk that Napoli are looking at him again. My feeling is that ultimately, if they are going to let him go, then that's when they go and get Eze, or they go and get another box-to-box midfielder, to compete alongside, with Basuma. But then obviously you've got Bentancur for that. So, you're sort of looking at it from there. And those two in particular, I think, are going to make a massive difference. And they're going to allow, and it's almost like there's unlike with Conte, where it was a set structure, this is what you do, and don't you dare do anything different from that. It's a case of, with Postecoglou, it's very much a case of, this is your role. Now go and express yourself in that role. Go and actually do what you've been brought in to do with that, and actually go and enjoy it and embrace it and things like that. And I think he's very much looked at, those three, the ones that he had, Maddison, Basuma and Skipp, they were the ones that started. I think he's looked at them and gone, look, these are your best positions. I want you now to own it and make it your own with that. So I think it was really good. Just on to what Maddison was saying, if he goes on to Twitter and searches all things THFC, because I've just had a look, because I thought, had it been taken off, it is showing up on there, and you should be able to find their Twitter page to be able to find it from there. All right.
Yeah. Go and check out Twitter there, Maddison Mellors, and should be able to find it. But yeah, I can't wait to see Bentancur back as well. Hopefully, because it's an ACL, hopefully it's not a case where he goes in 75% because he doesn't want to injure himself again, which can happen. But we've got real competition for places there. We've still got Højbjerg, although whether he'll be sold and go to Atletico Madrid by the end of the window, we're not sure. But Brad, Maddison, It's just a shame we didn't get him about 4 years ago when Eriksen said he wanted to go. But it's a very, I couldn't really believe what I was seeing, because it was a midfielder at Spurs in recent memory who went forward and looked forward at every. Very strange, very strange. I thought he was shooting the wrong way, but the free kick was unbelievable. Match of the day interview where Jonathan Pearce said you've got Harry Kane's number 10, really big number, and he joked saying it's not that big, so he printed it on the shirt. But what I loved is, I want that responsibility. He's a leader. I wouldn't be averse and upset if he was captain, because he's a leader, and the free kick was unbelievable. It was undefendable. Unbelievable. And if only we had Kane there, Kane would he'd be getting close to Shearer's record in the Premier League in this one season. But yeah, Maddison. He's going to be our most important player, I think.
Yeah, I just to go on a complete out of the box tangent for a couple of seconds. When I used to follow an Australian rules team in Adelaide, a friend of mine who followed the same team said that we won't have success until we get a player that other clubs fans hate. and we got two. We got these two brothers, the Cowns brothers. So we had two, and suddenly we won everything. I think it's. I actually asked my Brentford supporting friend on the weekend, why were they booing Maddison?
Oh yeah,
right from the start, and he said, because he argued with the referee, blah 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 blah. So you could argue that we've got that player that every opposition fan hates, and I made the point, said the sort of player that you want in your team, but if he's in someone else's team, you don't like him. So we've got that player. So anyway, that's gone off on a tangent. Yeah, we haven't replaced. This is the Eriksen replacement that we've been looking for 2 or 3 seasons. And dare I say, I don't want to put too much pressure on it, dare I say that we haven't replaced Moussa Dembele, Basuma, possibly.
He's got elements, hasn't he? Bentancur's got elements as well.
Moves the ball around that. But no, getting back to Maddison, his delivery for that free kick was incredible.
Oh, it's undefendable. If a player like one of our players is attacking that, you can't defend that.
Yeah, and he really almost got Richarlison on a couple of occasions as well. It just didn't quite get there, which you do wonder. Maybe there's a slight difference between. Well, obviously, there's a big difference between Richarlison and Kane, but maybe the runs they make are just slightly timed differently, and he's been used to putting Kane through. But he's a decent player. He's going to score goals as well. We haven't had a goal scoring midfielder since Eriksen and Dele Alli when he was in his pomp. So. It's all. The only thing that does worry me is he has had injury problems in the past, so we need. But there again,
I mean, so's Kane. If we kept Kane, he's had injury problems. Another kick to his ankle. He's out for a while.
But talking about that, I mean, maybe Lo Celso would be a good backup for Maddison in that respect. So, and Postecoglou seems to like Lo Celso. So maybe that might be okay there. But no, Maddison was excellent. I do worry. I think the player, and I'm sure the players will know this now. They'll get used to it. They're very strict now on arguing the referees. Have you noticed?
I saw that. Only 2 players are allowed to go up. One of them being the captain.
Yeah, and
that'll go out the window in a month. They're not going to set. He's not going to send 20 players off in a game, so that'll go out the window.
Well, he flew around a lot of yellow cards yesterday, including Maddison. So I do wonder, and I think he gave 2 in the Liverpool game, didn't he, for doing that sort of thing to the ref, the old yellow card, because they're booking them for that straight away now. So, but so getting back to Maddison, no, it's as you say, Maddison, a fully fit Bentancur and Basuma, that's a pretty decent midfield.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions from Maddison. We'll come to these in a bit later, but I'll just read them first. Question for the panel: why is Ange playing Son and Kulu, who obviously can't play in his system, while Porro and Solomon are perfect for his system and they had to sit on the bench? And also, I thought Lo Celso should have come on in the second half, so I'm wondering if he's on his way out. We'll come to those a bit later on, but Justin, Maddison, absolutely going to be crucial to this. My dad said he everything that we did going forward went through Maddison. I love the fact he wants that responsibility and the responsibility for Kane as well. Absolutely.
I mean, to be
superb.
fair, this is the Eriksen replacement that we needed. You know, he has been really, really good. I mean, as I said, I got to watch him on the game against Shakhtar, and my word, he was sensational. He was. I mean, to be fair, you know, he was sort of dominating the play. He was sort of trying to get forward. You know, the free kick was just so enticing in terms of, you know, what basically we've been lacking for so long. And, you know, and I do think as well, you know, in terms of what we've now got, you know, and it'll be interesting because, you know, the other thing that Maddison said about was Lo Celso, because I do agree. I do think I was surprised we didn't see.
Yeah, well, let's go on to that. Should he have come on for the second half? And does that mean he's going to be going?
I think the difficulty that you have is the fact that with Lo Celso, I think it's the fact of when you've got somebody like Maddison who is playing well, you know, and I think the other issue that we do have is it's not like in years gone by where we've had European football in between. So if you think, you know, it's not as if he's going to, you know, have to worry about playing either Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday. He's not going to worry about any of that. He can fully rest up, and he's then got Saturday to do it. And I think when I was watching the game and we were pinning them back in there, if you told me and said to me, who would I want on the pitch, Lo Celso or Maddison, it would be Maddison all day long, because from what I saw of him, it was so elegant and beautiful to watch. And I just felt that the only difficulty with bringing on Lo Celso was the fact of, would it have been a risk in terms of, because it was almost like it was safe not to. You know, keeping Maddison on meant it kept Brentford pegged back, that they couldn't push out because they knew if they did, we could then hit them. You know, so it was almost as if we were saying to them, look, you might not like it, but you might have to accept a point here, because if you don't, we will strike. And I think that was kind of it. I think Lo Celso would have possibly upset the balance. You know, to me, I look at Lo Celso as a great understudy. You know, it's weird to think that, but I do think if you know, he is, you know, a reserve player, you know, that can't seem to get on, you know, ahead of Maddison and things like that. So to me, yes, I would have liked to, but I think I'd have liked it for us to be like 2-0, 3-1, 3-0, or something like that. Just so where the game is more of a relaxed approach, because let's not forget with Lo Celso, this is a guy who was almost one step behind where Ndombele is in terms of getting out the door. So, you know, to be fair, we're kind of seeing a guy who is potentially trying to reintegrate somebody that we spent so long trying to boot out. I think it would have been quite a lot to try, and especially also if it had gone wrong. I think if Lo Celso had come on and we then lost the game, it would, I think people would be going, well, why did we take off Maddison? He was one of our best players. So I think almost in a way, sounds strange saying, but it almost felt like it protected the point, because it meant we'd have had an opportunity to get 3. I think if Brentford had gone 3-2 up at any point with Maddison not on the pitch, I don't think we'd have got an equaliser. I really don't. When you saw everything that went through, it almost as if it went through him. And I don't think yet we've seen that with Lo Celso. No. So that's kind of the reasons with it. Just to let Maddison know, Chris, what I've done is I've sent a DM, because I've been trying to add the link on. It won't for some reason let me do it. So if you can just put the link onto the chat, then that way that's a link that the Maddison can take to listen to it. All right. So there it goes. It's there for, you know, that's what you would go, and you should be able to find it there.
Yeah. A couple of comments. Mark Cousins, couldn't believe it was all over them for large parts with Maddison. Only 4 years too late. Maddison matters. I said Maddison would be wonderful for us, saying it with the last 5 years, and he's already got 2 assists. But Brad, come on to the Celso as well, and also you can start off with this one as well from Maddison from earlier. Why is Ange playing Son and Kulu? Obviously can't play in his system, while Porro, Solomon are perfect. They had to sit on the bench. I mean, his first game of the season, if it carries on with Son and Kulu, I don't have any doubts that, you're our captain, but you've got to pull your weight, let them have a go. And they are still learning his system, and learning a system that now they've had to redo 2 days ago because our talisman, our striker, isn't there.
What
do you make of Son and Kulu?
Well, I personally yesterday would have replaced Kulu. I think Kulusevski had an average game. Let's be honest. Yeah. And I was saying this about him last season. Although he's a decent player, he is only got one thing. He gets on his left foot, so he's very easy to defend about. You just push him out wide. Although the actual couple of occasions he did actually try and get across him with his right foot, he actually came across. But I would have actually replaced him with Pedro Porro because I think he's on the right. He'll go down on his right foot, and he's very direct as well. He's quite quick, very direct.
Got good cross.
I thought that might have been slightly different in that last 10 minutes. That might have worked. I also thought that he would have moved. I thought he was going to move Son inside and bring Kulusevski off and bring Perisic on that left-hand side.
What about Solomon? Because he played quite well in pre-season as well. Very, like you said about Porro, very direct, always willing to have a shot or a cross or try and make something happen.
Yeah. I think Solomon could have done that as well. I just would have preferred. I've just seen a lot more of Pedro Porro, especially where I sit at Tottenham. He's literally on my side of the pitch when we're attacking the south stand. He's very direct. He gets past. He's got a bit of pace. Gets past players. Puts crosses in. Got a good shot on him as well. That's why I would have gone over Pedro Porro over Solomon. But Solomon would have been a good call as well. I wouldn't have been disappointed if Solomon had come on as well. So rather than Pedro Porro. But I thought Perisic. I think Perisic is a natural replacement for Son. If you
he's played quite well going forward, isn't he?
Yeah, he's as well. I mean, to be honest, Perisic and Lo Celso have been the two surprises for me because, as Justin was saying, Lo Celso was second in line to be out the door and probably was closer to being out the door because it seemed a lot of, unlike Ndombele, a lot of clubs actually like the lower tier, Mark, the lower tier. I think there actually were clubs that wanted to buy Lo Celso, whereas Ndombele, no one seemed to want him. But
I think Ndombele, his attitude has been there for all to see. So why would you want to pay all that money for someone who's just going to cause you problems? And it's not just us. It's been reported at, was it Lyon that we bought him from? That he had issues there as well with attitude.
But with Lo Celso, I thought that that was a surprise for me. I don't think you could have. I think Maddison. There's no reason to bring Maddison off yesterday. If there was a reason, like an injury or something like that, then I think Lo Celso is a natural replacement. But if you'd have brought Lo Celso on with Maddison on as well, then you might have. I'd imagine what you're saying, Justin. You'd see it like we pin them back. They both go with the same ball, lose it. Brentford go down the other end and score. So you might have that situation.
I think, like Justin said, if it had been a comfortable 3-1, 2-0, then you would have made changes.
But with Perisic, that's the other surprise for me because I just presumed he was off. I thought he was gone.
He said he wanted to go, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think he seems to have a new lease of life, and he's playing in. I mean, we all heard the stories. Conte's converted him into a left wing back. Well, I didn't really see much evidence of that last season, but now he's in that forward position. We don't have to worry about getting back. And his delivery of the ball is second to none. Yeah. So I thought that was a decent substitution. But Lo Celso and Perisic at the moment are surprises for me this season. Hopefully they'll continue to do so. But
Maddison matters here. A couple of Solomon, Porro, brilliant on the wings pre-season. So I was angry at Ange, not Poch. We were angry at Poch. We don't like Poch anymore. Angry at Ange for not making obvious changes needed. Son, Kulu were awful. Brentford completely blocked the channels. Kulu Son could not get round the back. Perisic was bang average when we came on. I think we have to, Justin, kind of tailor expectations a little bit. This is a completely new system. Lost our talisman. First game against a good team at home. This isn't if this was Luton that we were struggling against, with all due respect to them, you'd be expecting to beat them. But Brentford are, a top Premiership team on merit now, with 2 really good seasons. We'll talk about the defence and their attacking prowess in a second. But, I think Ange is probably still trying to find his best team, and he's giving people chances. I don't think it's going to be a Conte thing where proving a point and playing terrible players week in, week out for weeks on end if they're not pulling their weight. I think he'll maybe give Son, Kulu a couple of games, certainly the Man United game and maybe the one after. And then, we've got to try something else. But What do you think about Solomon, Porro, and Son and Kulusevski? We'll just call him a double act, Con now.
That's it. I mean, to be fair, I do actually agree. I think the one thing I would say was, I do feel that it will be very, very interesting, and I agree with what Brad says. I think Pedro Porro is a winger and needs to be played as one.
Defensively, he's terrible. He can't be a fullback.
He's shocking as a defender. Absolutely. I mean, if the Barcelona game didn't spell the end for his defensive career, I think I don't think anything will, if I'm being brutally honest.
And it's the same on the other side, I think, with Reguilon. I mean, he's not as bad as Porro, but he's not a defender. He's not a defender.
He's not, but I do think that he's got more about him. I think that one, to be fair, there, you sort of looked at it, and I think the difference was they targeted him because he was the weaker of the two, which is unbelievable to say when you've got Emerson Royal in your team. But actually, what I would say in defence of Emerson Royal is
star striker now. Show some respect, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe we won't need to buy Orban, and the gift Orban Royale. To be fair, they'll just change his name, and then we got a new signing. But to be fair, I did sort of sit there and think, I find the Son one really hard. I do, because as I said,
what do you think about this as well? Because we just got another comment, Maddison. I believe Ange was ordered to make Son captain for marketing reasons.
No,
you wouldn't put it past Levy, but I don't think Ange is the kind of player to play that game.
Not what I know of Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah. I think as well that the one thing I would say with that is, we know how good Sonny has been for us over the years. So I don't think that Ange would have turned around and have allowed, for him to have done that. I think what I would say, though, is that I think he was picked as captain almost because it was the best of what we had. That, to me, in terms of that, I sort of felt, was ultimately the best option. If you'd have looked at the options that we had, obviously it was clear from the vice captains, it being James Maddison and Romero. I certainly didn't see them as being vice captain from there, but I do feel that if you were to almost look at here, and I think it does indicate a lot of things with regards to the team, because the obvious choice initially I would have thought was Højbjerg. Well, I think with everything going on, I do think he's going, because if you're not going to give him the captaincy, and I did sort of feel like that. And to be fair, I think it was possibly a bit too young to give it to Skipp, because I think that would have been the obvious choice. I do feel though that if Skipp can get a real run in the team this year and this works, I think when Son eventually goes, I do then feel that then he will become a future captain, But let's not forget, our old vice captain and our old captain is still there because we can't get him out the door. Hugo Lloris is not even in the squad. Eric Dier's not in the squad. It's just bonkers. It really, really is. I mean, bless, Ange, because he's obviously doing a lot of this with his hands tied behind his back, So yeah. I would certainly say that I get what Maddison is saying about the whole sort of, the issue around Son, and I do think his form has dipped. It will be interesting to see. My feeling of it being is not only do I think he was probably the only choice we sort of had, I wouldn't be surprised if this was last chance saloon, because he wasn't that great last year. Okay, people will say, well, Conte was there. Well, not a bit funny. He was banging in the goals in Conte's previous incarnation of Spurs. In terms of the season that got us to top four, he was sensational then. He's had a bad season, that's fine. But I do feel it's almost like, I think the club have sort of been like, right, okay, well, you really need to be on top form this year, because if you're not, then ultimately I do think you'll go. I think it will be a case of the club would then listen to the likes of Saudi Arabia, or possibly taking that and what have you. So we'll have to wait and see, but it will be interesting to see, because a lot of people sink with the captaincy, some swim with it. So I do also think that not having, almost feeling like the weight is on his shoulders, because obviously Kulusevski seems to be struggling a bit, and Richarlison, seems to be struggling a bit. That I think was worrying. I don't think we can sort of isolate him as a whole. I think the collective three didn't play the best, which does, as I said, as you said, Brad, bring the question of why didn't we bring on Porro or or Solomon, or and maybe even have had, because I can't remember if Dane Scarlett was in the on the bench. So because that to me would have been, no, he wasn't. So he wasn't even in the squad. So again, you did sort of that's the only sort of thing really from there. But we're going to have to wait and see. I think, as I said, this will be a make or break season for Son if he is able to step his game up. If not, I think at the end of this season, I think we'll seek pastures new.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Cousins, where is he? He's just put a 5 on Emerson Royal for Golden Boot and plans on buying Tottenham if it comes in. We'll see.
I think with again going on to the Son captaincy, I know that we tend to look at things as football fans. We tend to look at what's gone on in the past and make sort of, it's because marketing in South Korea, whatever. I know it's easy to make that sort of connection, and I can understand why people do it. But Ange Postecoglou took Australia to the World Cup finals, and Football Australia or Soccer Australia, whatever they're called, asked him to change something. And he said, no, I'm out of here. So he is very much his own man. So I don't think he would have been told by anyone to make Son captain.
I think the reason for Son captain is he's seen his form has dropped. Let's give him more responsibility. See if that bucks his ideas up, because he's got them all. I mean, he's probably upset as well. His best friend has left. So he's got to deal with that. But I think it's more of a... I mean, he took responsibility back in Poch's day when Kane got injured and basically won us games on his own and kept us up the top of the league when Kane was injured until he came back, and then carried on when Kane came back in the team. So I think it's more of a buck your ideas up. Here's some extra responsibility.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm of the opinion, right, and I might be the only one who has this opinion. I'm of the opinion that a captain of a football club these days is very much a ceremonial position. It's the guy who holds up the trophy if you win a trophy. It's the guy that has the armband on.
So for us, for us, it's the guy who has the armband on.
Yeah, most modern football managers want 11 captains out there. Yeah, So and someone actually made the point over the weekend. I can't remember who it was. Made the point that Romero, Maddison, Son, you've got a captain in each area of the field, defence, midfield, attack. If you look at the captains we've had, Harry Kane, captain of Tottenham, when Lloris is not there, he's the face of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Son is very much the face of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I know I might be going back on my earlier statement about it's not a marketing thing, but I think it maybe you could call it a seniority thing as well for your captain.
And service, he turned down moves to Saudi Arabia, didn't he?
And the other thing was I've heard is it was a unanimous. The players were unanimously happy with it as well. So I've got no problems with Son being made captain. And the other thing I will say, which goes against what people have been saying about, if you're not informed, you're out. You're going to give your captaincy to a player who's more or less guaranteed a game, aren't you? So, Kane was always going to be in the 11. And you could argue to a certain degree that Son probably will be as well. So whether we agree with that or not, that's by the by. But I think if you look at it, it's what Justin was saying. You give it to Højbjerg, you might be selling Højbjerg next week. So
I mean, there's no law to say that the captain has to play. Just look at Man United. But I'm
not. It's one of those arguments or debates that I've never really got into, because I don't think it's that important. And people go on about, I remember Graham Roberts, what a captain. He used to side people down there. I remember Roy Keane. Yeah, that was back when referees were really lenient, Nowadays, you can get a red card for tickling your opponent. Football's changed. And also, it's not like saying cricket where the captain chooses the bowlers, places the field, does all that stuff. The captain, I think, is very much a ceremonial, and you could argue leads by example, as Harry Kane has already is. Getting back to Justin's point on Skipp being too young, I do remember. Now, Skipp reminds me, I'm old enough to remember when Steve Perryman first made the Tottenham team as a midfielder. And I actually saw Steve Perryman's debut as a 17-year-old. But he was made captain of Tottenham quite early on, if I remember. He wasn't that old. So Skipp reminds me of Perryman. So maybe in a few years' time, maybe it might be Skipp. But obviously,
he needs a run in the team, though, doesn't he?
He
obviously didn't last year because of injuries.
The Skipp that we saw before his couple of injuries, when he was playing under Nuno, ironically, I thought he was probably one of our better players in those early days under Nuno.
I've got no doubt if he stays at Spurs and stays injury free, he will be captain at some point. But as Mark Cousins said, let's hope it's not Dier. And that brings us, Justin, onto the defence. A lot to talk about here. Oh dear, the defence and the keeper. Let's talk about the keeper first. Hasn't filled me with a huge amount of confidence. Someone said that the second goal was his fault. I mean, he was making an easy save there, and then Van der Ven's unfortunately dipped it over him. Not a huge amount he could do. The cross that came in the second half, which is palmed out into the middle, dangerous. The rush of blood to the head to come out, and I mean, you could argue that for the penalty appeal, you can argue that he's put him under pressure and he's ballooned it over, but very unlucky, very lucky not to give away a penalty there. It is still young, early days. He's relatively young for a goalkeeper as well. And with Buffon and Zoff saying all these wonderful things about him, it's obviously wonderful saying those things about him, but it probably puts a bit of pressure on him. What do you make of the goalkeeper at the moment, Vicario?
I mean, I think we are probably we've got to remember what we've been used to, which is a shot stopper, a leader at the back in terms of Hugo Lloris, who, let's face facts, we all moaned about that, when the evolution of goalkeepers kicked in, it wasn't just him that struggled. I think you see it with Kepa Arrizabalaga, you see it with David De Gea, goalkeepers of that ilk, where it is very much get the ball, lump it up top and let them deal with it. That's, now having to go from a sweeper keeper sort of role. I think we're going to see that. And let's not forget, and there's one of the points that Ange made, which I thought actually that's quite a fair point. 3 of the 5 at the back, that was their first game together in the Premier League. Udoggi, Van der Ven and Vicario. So I think we do have to bear in mind that it was their first game, in the Premier League, in that sort of environment, away from home as well. We knew, it was going to be difficult, especially with the way that Brentford play. So I mean, I don't feel he was at fault for any of the goals. Okay, no. He had a few rushes of blood to the head, but let's face facts. We say that we're going to see similar things with Onana. We're going to see it with Robert Sanchez. We're going to see it with David Raya. And we're all sitting, and people are coming out and saying, "Oh my God, he's going to be terrible. What on earth have we done?" Well, let's actually remember that this is a new team for him. It's a young goalkeeper coming in, having to adapt, but also having players around him that have to adapt. So they've got to get used to the fact that the keeper that they've got now isn't just going to sit back. They are going to expect him to come out. So, I said when I watched him, he was very much sort of outside of his box most of the time. Which does really show the difference in terms of the evolution of goalkeepers. So I think a lot of people are worried because we've never had a goalkeeper who like that. If you think about all the goalkeepers we've had back through the years, Gomez and, Brad Friedel and Hugo Lloris and Paul Robinson and people like that, they weren't sweeper keepers. None of them were. They were very much, I'll deal with the shot and then we'll move on. That was it. It was very much.
I mean, Lloris was early on, wasn't he? Sweeper keeper, but not so much out of his box. But he came rushing out if the ball went over the top.
But this is where this is where I think with Vicario, it's a young goalkeeper. Obviously, now we're seeing the situation with Arsenal, which I think, to be honest, stupid on Brentford because, from my understanding, it was a case of they were offering close to 30 for him.
Yeah.
And now they're going to have to gamble on that he has an amazing season to get that 30. And you're like, well, you're a bit stupid because you could
I
have
don't
got
really
that.
understand it. But
No, but ultimately, I think as well, what we have to look at is where do we then go from there in terms of the rest of the window? Because if we've got Vicario in, it just means there's more money in the back pockets for the owners. Then I think that's ridiculous. But if it is going to mean, along with this Kane money and this £50 million that sort of sat in the background, we're going to go and get another centre half. Because I've been hearing talk that Davinson Sanchez could be kept on, and it's like, okay, I don't mind him being kept on, but not with Eric Dier. The decision has to be made because. I watched him in the Barcelona game, and Eric Dier did himself absolutely no favours in that one.
Where Sanchez looked really good, didn't he? But then we've had this before, where he has a really good game, three terrible ones, then a good game. So, yeah,
it's gonna be interesting in terms with Sanchez because as you rightly point out, and this was the part when everyone was waxing lyrical about Sanchez and keeping and things. I was thinking, well, first of all, let's not forget, this is his first game in this, Is he going to be? The only thing I would say when it comes to Sanchez, and perhaps might put pressure on Van der Ven, is he's no leader in any shape or form. He needs someone to guide him. So if you're going to have Van der Ven and you're going to have Sanchez playing, Van der Ven has to become the leader almost.
And
at
he's
that
very
back
young
and
as well, isn't he? So
yeah. So that's the only worry for me, but. If it does mean that Sanchez stays, then, Eric Dier has to be out the door tomorrow. Tomorrow is too late for me anyway.
There's links of him going to Saudi Arabia. So do you see that happening?
That's been kiboshed straight away. Alistair Gold came out and said, Alistair Gold came out and said, no. Even they know that would be taking the piss in terms of from their league. If they're just going to bring in the likes of Neymar and Ruben Neves and then all of a sudden Eric Dier turns up, you're like, okay, somebody's been sold a red herring here. So I don't see that at all. That's not to say I don't think he's a Premier League player. I think if you were, the likes of Sheffield United or, Burnley, or well, maybe not so much Burnley because of how Vincent Kompany plays, but Luton, if you're a Bournemouth as well, someone like that where you're going to have to just almost not expect a lot of running. It's almost a case of you just want somebody to defend. That's it. If you want a reactive defender, a guy who's just going to deal with the situation as it comes up, that's fine. But if you want someone to actually run, then forget it. You might as well just have him sort of stuffed and have him, and then you save having to have a statue of him because you can just have him outside the front, really, of the stadium. But I think if I was a betting person, I think he would, pointing, or no, just holding a plaque saying sorry. That would be fine for me and what have you. But I personally think if he's not sold in the summer, I think we'll hear that he's been, wished good luck on his future endeavours.
Yeah, he needs. I like Eric Dier. The fact is, he's not good enough.
Yeah,
I like him as a person.
Oh, okay.
He's just not
I was
good
just
enough.
thinking you like. Well, I was going to say, well, go on because this will be interesting.
I waited on purpose to get Justin's confused reaction.
Oh right, okay, that's fine.
I do apologise, but I do like Mark Cousins' idea here: get Dawes and King out of the crowd when we're at home. I do like that.
Well,
there's two leaders for you. They'll help
Sanchez. Than Dier, they would, to be fair. So,
but Brad Van der Ven, has he calmed Romero down? Very difficult to say because he was only on the pitch for 10 minutes.
Look, can I just start with the goalkeeper? I really don't know what to make of him. I don't know what to make of him.
He needs time, doesn't he?
Whether he's good and he's going to be good or whether he's bad. I don't agree with, as Justin was saying, everyone goes, he's rubbish, get rid of him, the only criticism I had of him yesterday, because I thought the penalty. Do I see football differently? Because no one on TV has said this. When he came out, that penalty decision, that penalty claim, to me, he was coming out and put his hands up to stop the shot. And the ball went over him. The guy skied it over him, and then they naturally collided. That's how I saw it.
But that's why it wasn't given according to Match of the Day, because if it's a natural collision, it's not a penalty. Which
he came out, he didn't come out and go for the ball. He actually put his hand up to stop the shot.
But again, the reasoning for that, the natural collision, just worries me because again, it's left to interpretation. So one referee sees it as a natural collision, another one sees it as something different. So you'll have
the only thing.
So it's just overcomplicated stuff again. So you're going to end up with this inconsistency again.
All I would say with that is a precedent's been set now. So I think it'd be very difficult if you see similar instances in the rest of the season to then turn and go, that's a penalty. I think it all depends. I think also, as it's a shot and the event has happened, I think that is when the collision has then happened and then has meant actually it's not impacted. If he has, taken him out and then tried to get a shot off, I think it would have been different.
It happened last year where someone got a penalty for it. So I think it's guaranteed that it will be a penalty at some point.
He wasn't diving at the guy's feet to get the ball. No. That's how I saw it. He was trying to stop the shot.
Yeah, that will be where the interesting part is. And I think that's why, because he wasn't trying to go down to that. He was trying to stop the shot itself. Yeah. I think they've looked at it. It was a natural reaction for that. I think if it had been a case of he'd gone down for it and taken the player before the shot had been done, I think that's a key element. Is the fact that the shot had already been done that meant that actually it wouldn't have been a penalty because it's not impacted on what he's done.
My only criticism of him yesterday was the penalty, because I'm sorry. As soon as you can't see, as soon as I see a player going before they take the penalty, little dance he does, Bahuma, little dance he does, or any player. As soon as they do a little dance, I'm saving that penalty. Because I know they're coming up to it and they're going to do this real slow lobbing and they're going to hit it. I know that I'm the best way I've got saving that penalty is to actually see where the ball goes and dive and try and save it. Because when he did that and what's the name, Vicario goes the other way, I thought that was embarrassing. I
don't think you can blame a goalkeeper on a penalty, but what I would say is...
to be fair, clearly we've just had an education in how to save a penalty, because that's 100% guaranteed there.
If I was a manager, though, what I would be saying, I'd fine my goalkeeper if they dive before the ball was kicked. They always guess the right way, because the amount of times you see penalties which go in, and they're terrible penalties, they're about that far wide. I mean, it's wider than my screen in my room of the post. But as soon as you dive out the way early, you've made the striker's decision so easy. Harry Kane's different because Harry Kane sticks it in the corner regardless. You're not getting But the amount of times that you saw Ronaldo and Messi back in the day where they do this little hop, skip and all that, and then they roll it the other side. Put the pressure on the striker. But having said that, again, you've got to potentially gamble that they're going to stick it in off the post hard as well. So you've got to have a guess to get a chance.
Yeah, but I just
the amount of terrible penalties you see, I reckon if I was a goalkeeper, I wouldn't be a goalkeeper because I'm terrible. The only good thing I'd be is guessing the right way on a penalty, which isn't enough for a goalkeeper. I reckon I'd save a fair few penalties just because I would go the right way.
I think it was an Australian Bosnich who used to save quite a lot of penalties, and he said because I don't guess. Yeah. I just wait till they kick it. I just try and save the ball as they hit it. Yeah. And I think that's I think if a lot of goalkeepers do that, I think especially when they're doing this little slow little dancey run up, you're right. They're virtually diving and they haven't even kicked the ball. Yeah. I just thought even if he'd have dived the right way and missed it, and then the goal had still got in, at least it would have looked a lot better than what it eventually did. Getting back to Van der Vaart, I thought considering he'd only just joined the club. Yeah. And literally, that was his first game after 2 training sessions.
Yeah, and his penalty appeal was never a penalty. He's got the ball first.
Oh, that's when I saw that on TV, I wasn't even worried when they said that in slow motion. I wasn't even worried when I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, he got lucky in the sense that the kind of ricochet, I guess it was, that ballooned it up in the air. But yeah, never a penalty for me.
But I thought he looked very promising yesterday. He looked very confident, very quick. A bit unfortunate with the goal, but yeah, I thought I was very pleased with what I saw yesterday.
I mean that second goal to me says communication. That's because it's 2 new players in a new system. Normally, the goalkeeper would be saying, "No, keepers, and then he picks it up fairly comfortably. I think that's just a communication.
And also, let's face it, it's the defending to get to that situation in the first place.
Well,
so.
yeah, we're going to be talking about that in a
all
second.
Right, but I was very. I thought Van der Vaart looked quite good yesterday. Look, it might be luck of the draw. It might have been just the best game he ever has, and then but I thought he looked promising. I did like. If you look at our defence, I thought Udogie looked pretty good. Because his criticism or supposed criticism was always very good going forward, but his defending, well, I think his defending is actually quite good. And then you did notice, and I look, we all, Emerson Royal, he does his best, and he's not a bad player, he's not a good player, but they did go down that side when they were attacking us.
But is that because Kulusevski's not tracking back, and that's either because Ange just told him not to? Because what I saw. Rico Henry, I think it was, who was against Emerson Royal on that side, had him on toast. And you've got to then, we talked about responsibility earlier, that he needs help here, or I need help, get yourself back because they're going to score. And the second goal, he obviously skinned him, and then whoever scored the goal via the deflection has got a chasm of space in the box, which is criminal as well. It was just a terrible, terrible goal from all accounts, but he's going to have to shore that, because what I saw against Barcelona, you've got the midfield and the defence. There was a huge gap between the two, and Barcelona's defence rolling it out straight to their striker was quite alarming, and we're going to concede a lot of goals if we carry on with that.
I think our defending is going to be pinning teams in their own half. That's how we're going to defend this season, with that high line. And when the ball was in the Brentford half and we kept winning it back, I was quite happy with that. I was quite confident. As soon as the ball went in our half, that's when I started to.
I mean, if our defence is going to be pin them, it could be a cricket score against Haaland and Man City, because they'll be able to play out of that. They won't be worried at all about being pinned.
Look, look. There are going to be games where we're going to concede goals. Just the way we play football and the way that Postecoglou wants to play football. He said himself he doesn't pay much attention to coaching defending. So yeah, it's how we play our game, but it'll be the way tactically we play it with that pinning back. And we're going to get teams like Man City are going to keep catch us out, but that's going to happen, and eventually the players will be able to play the way that you stop that. That's how we used to play under Pochettino. We used to have a high line. Admittedly, we had two bloody good central defenders,
and we had Wanyama and Dembele as insurance in case of defense
exactly. So. But we used to pin teams in their own half, and they, especially at White Hart Lane, they just couldn't get out. Yeah. And that's what I've noticed with Tottenham in the pre-season friendlies I've seen, plus the Brentford game, is there are stages in the game where we pin these teams back and they can't get out. What pleased me on Sunday was I thought that we might run out of legs in the second half, just due to the fact that we haven't had any pre-season games and that sort of thing. But we actually finished stronger of the two. There was a moment where I thought Brentford were getting on top, but we actually got back in the game. And in those last 5 or 6 minutes, I think we actually, we were looking the stronger of the two teams. So that was pleasing. The defence is going to be. It's going to be.
Will we get another one in? Do you think before the window?
I would hope so, because you need you can't have. Well, we've got two really good defenders there, and then they get injured. So, you need...
one potentially has, haven't they, Justin Romero? What I loved about that, not the fact that he went off, is that he was saying, and I want to come off, and Postecoglou, get your ass off the pitch now. I love that. And Postecoglou, to me, Conte and Josie seemed like, do what I say, otherwise you'll be beheaded. Whereas Postecoglou is a nice guy, but do not get on the wrong side.
Yeah,
he's got that instant respect there without being just too overwhelmingly scary. But I love that. No, get your ass off the pitch now. And it obviously shows he cares about the players as well, and the medical staff are doing their job. It was a shame because he could have gone on a real good game there. Obviously, he got his early goal. I think whoever plays in that defence is going to score a lot of goals from corners and free kicks if Maddison's on duty there. But there's talk that he may not be around for Man United.
Well, it depends on whether
that's
if it's
not
got
the case.
yeah. He didn't look too clever after the goal. He showed
he said that he told the players to back off a little bit.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and I it's funny. I got concussed once, although it wasn't playing football. It was more of a drinking injury. But many years ago, and I actually woke up next morning thinking, a bit of a headache here, and I put it down to a hangover. But then someone said, you ought to get it checked out, go to the doctors. And I was at the doctor's, I was feeling fine. And the doctor goes to me, okay, walk along that straight line. And as soon as I started walking along, whoa, I almost fell over. He goes, yeah, you got concussion, mate. So they'll obviously be able to assess it. And if he's got concussion, then it's 6 days he has to miss. So
I mean, it's a shame if he misses Man United, but like Postecoglou said, he's not taking any chances and risks at knowing what we know now about head injuries and stuff, which is the correct thing. But what did you think of the defence, Justin? It was alarming, like I say, that certainly Rico Henry getting over it. The penalty as well. What did you make of that? Because for me, it's soft, but he has kicked him, and we've seen so many times players getting kicked just slightly, staying on their feet, miss a chance, whatever. Never gets called back for penalty, so they're almost being taught to go down. But for me, it was a bit silly. You're giving the referee, VAR, whoever, a decision to make rather than just stand him up and then he's got the decision to make. What do you make of the penalty and our defending overall?
So I think obviously, in terms of the penalty, it's one of those ones that just feeds into the whole thing. Really, I think we've got to remember, this is a new system that they're all having to buy into, because as you rightly said, when we did similar with this with Pochettino, we did have Dembele, we had Wanyama, people that we knew would be able to get back in and help fill out the gaps. I think obviously we're asking for Oliver Skipp to take on a massive responsibility, because, he is in effect a defender who will have to slot back in or move out wide to try and help anticipate any of these areas, because it does sort of feel like the wingers are almost given free rein, which is fine when you're in position to be able to do that. But I think obviously the only difficulty being with is if you try to have wingers coming back and forward, they might struggle with it, especially obviously if he's like, for example, a lot of them stayed on for the full 90 minutes, so it'd be interesting. As I said, to me, I think looking at it, I would probably say we need another right back, because I do feel that Porro isn't a right back. I think he should be converted to a right winger.
And Jed Spence looks like he's same as Ndombele attitude, so he's never going to get a look in. Which...
No, I think it made it clear to him as soon as it was the fact that Conte came out and said he was a club signing. I think everybody, that scene in Naked Gun where they all just slap their heads all just like that. It looked like everybody at Tottenham and every single fan just went, no, it's a waste. So I think that isn't going to work. I think we need to get Jed Spence out the door. I think we need to get Eric Dier out the door. I think we... I would have said perhaps getting Ryan Sessegnon out the door, but I think his injuries has curtailed that. Maybe we'll explore the left back situation in January, but I do feel another centre back needs to come in, so that if they are going to make the decision to stick with Sanchez, it's going to be a case of it's Van der Ven, Romero, for me, Tapsoba and Sanchez. I think the rest... ideally have to seek past you. Personally, I would rather that we got both Sanchez and Dier out the door and we went and got another left back in, to compete with Udogie. But it might be that actually he's the best of the fullbacks that we have. So maybe keeping him and Davies on that side and then having Royal and another on the other side, and then bringing in Tapsoba, it then kind of makes it more of a competitive backline. But I think we have to remember... Van der Ven, he'd only had, as Brad said, 2 training sessions. He's then gone 10, 12 minutes into a game and he's got another defensive partner, and I think every one of us, when we saw Sanchez come on, thought we're screwed here, but hats off, they didn't do too badly. So it's going to be a work in progress, but I think it is clear that we do need more signings. For me, as I say, I'd be definitely looking at a right back and another central defender. I think if we got at least those two in, I think that would put us in a really stronger position.
I want Tapsoba. I think if we don't get him, we're going to live to regret that. Top quality defender.
I mean, they're talking. To be fair, they are
places there as well.
Yeah, they are talking about Per Shares from Torino. I know that's an option that they're looking at. For me, it's just, I don't think we need to worry about so much the names, because I'll be brutally honest. If you'd have turned around to me and, before the last game of the season said, Tottenham looking at Edmund Tapsoba, I'd have gone, ooh. I wouldn't have known who he is.
To be fair, I only know him because on one of my Football Manager games, he turned my fortunes around and helped me win the league. And at that time, in that same game, I got Maddison at the same time, maybe win the league. We've already got one.
So there we go then. Based on Football Manager, we must sign him. But in terms of Per Shares, apparently he fits a similar sort of model to Tapsoba. It's going to be potentially £20 million cheaper from the sounds of it. And I think we've got to remember here, Tottenham are, if they're going on databases, and it always tickles me when people turn around and say, oh, Tottenham have gone for the cheaper option here, or Tottenham have gone for the cheaper option there. Yet we've just seen Brighton, who we want to aspire to be, have just made a profit of about £111 million on one player. Yeah. So we can't be sitting there and saying, oh, well, how dare we go for cheaper options when we're lauding Brighton for buying Caicedo, Mac Allister and other people like that have made them a bucket load of cash. So from my perspective, whether it be Tapsoba or whether it be Per Shares, the only reason I'm maybe leaning towards more Per Shares is because my understanding was it was the club that wanted Tapsoba, but it was Ange who wanted Van der Ven. So if it is a case of that Ange wants Per Shares over over Tapsoba,
you have to go with what the manager.
You have to go with what he wants. And as I said, if it means there's £20 million back in the kitty, you could then throw that bit extra as getting Eze or getting, Auburn or whoever that you need through the door. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. And then let's not forget, even if Per Shares comes in, it's clear that he's not going to be first choice. I think what we've seen with Van der Ven and Romero, that is our first choice going forward.
It'd be interesting what happens with Romero, because he was labelled as first class, world class, but unless he curtails his temper and his rashness, he'll never be considered world class, because he'll be considered a liability. If he can get a defensive partner that he trusts, and to be fair to him, I think it's probably because of last season he was trying to cover Emerson, trying to cover Dier, and too much, and they're probably getting frustrated. If he can have a partner that he can trust, and Van der Ven is rapid as well, which will be obviously important with the ball over the top. If he can form a good partnership with him, I'd hope he can calm down, and then we'll see a real mature. And being that he's vice captain as well, he's got to mature up at some point, because there will be times when Son doesn't play, and it's either him or Maddison that's the captain for that game.
Could I just make the point that the Football Manager database is actually used by football clubs? It is it's incredibly well researched database. I know, because I used to work for Sega, who Sports Interactive is the people that do Football Manager, and I used to pay the guys all around the world. I get all these invoices in all around the world that basically look at the leagues and scout the players and mark the players, that sort of thing. So yeah, the Football Manager database is a pretty accurate database. As for the penalty, all I will say is that I think what got me about it was the fact that the way he went down didn't justify the touch.
No, but all I would say with that, other way round, we'd be screaming.
That was going to be.
I knew it was where you were going. We would have absolutely screamed for a penalty.
As I watched it on TV, I'm going, that's not a penalty. That's definitely not a penalty. He doesn't touch him. I know if it'd been the other way around, I go, it's a penalty.
I think letter of the law, it had to be a penalty. I think.
As soft as it was,
it was soft.
You would have turned around if Son was critical, but not being funny. Other way around, Son would have dropped like he'd been shot.
It's good from Son that he's taken the responsibility to track back. I like that, but he's just got to be a bit more savvy there and just hold him up, because he was going absolutely nowhere. But got Mark Cousins here say. I'd sooner watch a score 2-2 and play like yesterday than watch 1-0 under Conte.
Well, the one thing we were all talking about Eric Dier earlier. Well, I don't think Eric Dier's going to, or nor should he, get a looking at this thing because Eric Dier is not quick.
No,
and to play this system, play this system, you need to be a quick defender.
Yeah,
Van der Vaart is quick. Romero's reasonably quick, and Sanchez, for all his faults, is very quick. And he got back a few times yesterday. So
he's supposed to be fairly rapid as well. Whether Emerson is and Vico Henry's just quicker, I'm not sure, but he's no slouch.
No, I do agree with Justin that I think we need to look at right back, whether it be someone that's going to play in front of.
I'm surprised. I mean, the wages would probably have been an issue. We could have got Kyle, or at least tried to get Kyle Walker when he was out of favour for free. The wages, he's gone and got his trophies, so it's not a case of, I don't want to come to Tottenham because I need to get trophies. And he may have turned us down and just laughed at us, but at least we'd have been.
I would have liked Walker back. I do agree with that. He would have laughed.
Because your comment earlier, Justin, I can't remember exactly what it was, but we're never proactive. We're always reactive. Be proactive and try these things. And don't, a £40 million player, don't go, we tried. Didn't you bid 5 million? That's not proactive. That's just stupid.
The other thing,
at least speak to Walker and see. Get Kane, who was still at the club. You know him with England. Go have a word with him.
The other thing I will say about our defence is the fact that we play with inverted fullbacks, which is very much in the high line, which is very much the way Man City play. And to be fair, I always felt whenever I see Man City played against Man City, with Spurs or whoever else, I've always felt that they are vulnerable. You can score goals against them.
Yeah.
I never thought of Man City as being this wonderful team. Don't get me wrong, but I never thought about being this team that you can't break down and they're not going to concede goals.
Generally, they keep the ball for long periods. Which we're not quite there yet. When we get when we get Bentancur back, providing he gets in the team, we've got Bentancur, Basuma, and Maddison who can keep the ball. Dembele and Eriksen back in the day, they're great. One of their greatest things I thought was when we were under the cosh. Those two got on the ball. The other team didn't touch it for 5 minutes. All the momentum has gone, and then we start again. And then
do you remember the 2-1 win at Man City under where?
Yes. Eriksen
that to me, that was when I suddenly thought, "Hey, we're a decent side," because we went 1-0 up, and then they got the goal, and they had the momentum, but we fought back and we just pinned them in that area. They couldn't get out. And
I also thought in that era as well. I mean, Vertonghen and Alderweireld, Walker and Rose were superb. And Trippier and after Walker. But I think they hardly had any pressure on them. We had 60% possession or something like that because we had Dembele and Eriksen pulling the strings, not letting the other team have the ball. Under Jose, we had about 35% possession. Same with Conte. And it was always coming back. They were always under pressure. So maybe an attacking game with Ange and with Maddison there, Basuma who can keep the ball, and then Bentancur, we'll see a lot better performances from a Sanchez if he comes in because he's not got that constant pressure. Not saying it by any stretch that Sanchez is as good as Vertonghen and Alderweireld before anyone gets down my throat, but I definitely think it helps. And I don't usually agree with Danny Murphy, but he was saying on Match of the Day yesterday, players like playing in a system like this where they're allowed to express themselves and go forward. They don't like playing in a Conte system unless they're winning 1-0 or whatever every game. As soon as it starts going a bit downhill, that's when a descent comes. But players won't complain too much, I don't think, under Ange if they're allowed to express themselves. But that brings us on, Justin. You've both said you didn't expect anything against Brentford. We got 2-2, could have easily won. Are you now a bit excited for the season? We're going to be attacking. We're going to be entertaining. I still think without Kane, we're going to score goals. Obviously, we're not going to have anyone who's going to get 30 goals in the Premier League season. But like Brad says, there will be, I'm pretty sure, goals spread around. We've already seen 2 goals and none of them from any forward players. That ain't going to last long. Some forward players will score goals sooner or later. But are you excited for the season? Or do you still think it'll be entertaining, but we're not going to achieve anything?
I think at the moment the jury's still out because it's one game. I think a lot still needs to be done in terms of the window. I think in terms of outgoings and things like that. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Okay. I'm going to have to shoot because something seems to be kicking off. So I'll be back in a few moments. All right.
That's
Sorry
having
about
time at your door saying, "Why are you telling me I have to go?"
Yeah, probably. All right.
No
Moment. Cheers.
But Brad, excited for the season ahead?
I am, because I've never said, if you see me on other shows, I've always said that I didn't expect too much this season.
Yeah,
I didn't expect. I think we'll still be mid-table. I think if we get in top 6 for a Europa League space, I think that'd be an amazing achievement in Postecoglou's first season. I would like to think that we'd have a cup run. I hope in the FA
I think
Cup,
there's no excuse unless you get like Man City in the first round away.
Yeah.
If you get a good draw, I don't think there's any excuse to not have a good cup run, because it's Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, Saturday. There's no weekend Wednesday, weekend Wednesday.
And also, you can't imagine us putting up an effort like we did against Sheffield United. No. You can imagine us sweeping those teams aside, playing the way we're playing.
The issue with how Conte played, I think, is if you're in a negative mindset and go into a game like that, and you go into a game like that where it's away to a lower league team, they've got nothing to lose from the start because they're the lower league team, and their fans are going to be right on top. That is then going to translate to the players. They're going to be attacking and positive. It's so difficult to change your mindset negative to positive when the other team are positive and all over you. It's far, far easier to change your mindset positive to negative.
And the thing about
I think the way that we played and set up under Conte and everything like that, it set us up to fail against lower league teams like that. Whereas under Ange, we're set up to be successful because the first 10 minutes it'd be like the Alamo, and then they're like, "Oh, we can't go toe to toe with this team. They've got better quality than us."
I think the famous Sheffield United game where my season ended. I think just remember when I was watching the game at the time, it was like they seemed like they feared us, at first, and then suddenly you could see them thinking, actually, this ain't that good at all. And then their confidence grew and grew and grew and grew, and they won the game.
And then we just got back and just looked like the lower league team.
But that's not going to happen. Well, at least I hope it. I don't think it
will. He doesn't know any other way than to attack, does he? Yeah. And we've got Maddison's, regardless of how they're playing, Son, Kulu, Richarlison, Maddison.
And put it this way, they
attack with players like that.
The cliche that's always given out is, "Oh, you want a 20-goal a season striker." If we get a 20-goal a season striker, that's a player who statistically is 2/3 as good as Harry Kane. So if we can get a player that's 2/3 as good as Harry Kane, I think I'd be quite happy with that. So.
Sorry, girlfriend's back from the gym. I have to say hello.
Yeah, so I am excited about the season. I haven't got any massive expectations. Certainly, I'm not in the league. I think, as you said,
top 5 is Champions League now, which is ridiculous in itself.
Yeah. But I think top 6 or top 7, I think would be a good achievement.
Yeah, I predicted around 7th or 8th again. Anything above is a bonus, but I don't think top 5 is achievable. You got Man City, unfortunately, Arsenal probably be up there. Chelsea possibly up there. Newcastle, I definitely think.
Well,
I know they got battered, but I still think Villa could have a good season.
I'm not so sure about Chelsea. That they're in the same boat as us. They're learning new tactics and new, and Pochettino's got his new personnel. So I'm not that, and they weren't that convincing yesterday against Liverpool. I think it's going to be a very, very even season, apart from the fact that Man City probably run away with it. But apart from that, I think second down to, I don't know, 7th or 8th, I think it's be quite even. I wouldn't like to predict it. I think you'll have your Liverpools and your Man Uniteds and that doing well.
Man United are another one, aren't they? They're they're you don't know which man. They're very similar to Tottenham in previous seasons. Which Man United are going to turn up today? I'm not sure about Man United.
Yeah,
they're 0-0 Wolves at the moment. 49 minutes.
Oh, all right,
at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
Well, I mean, the game on Saturday. I mean, if we take our chances, we could very well win it.
Yeah, I would expect us going out fairly quick.
Yeah.
So many times in the last few, I mean, even under Pochettino, we started off quite slow in games.
We did.
I'd be very, very surprised if we haven't had a fairly good chance within 10 minutes.
And you got to take them because we're going to concede goals this season.
Yeah.
So taking the chances is all the more important. So
yeah, they'll be very similar to Brentford as well, with Rashford over the top, quick.
Oh yeah,
Sancho over the top, quick. And they'll probably have seen what happened against Brentford and go, okay, we'll do that as well. Then.
But one thing they won't do is what Brentford did, and that was sit back and put that low block against us. So Man United probably won't do that. So you based on that, you'd think we might get more chances to score. Yeah. So it's going to be to use the cliche, it's going to be a roller coaster this season.
Yeah, at least it'll be entertaining. I mean, some of the games last year were help it play them for insomniacs. It will cure it all. It was just absolutely terrible last year. It won't be like that this year, but it'll be very nervous this year. I think.
Yeah,
there'll be a lot of high score. So if I were you, like you said earlier, I'd put 3-3 on every game because you'll win a few. But like I said, I expect a cut run, unless of course you get like the real tough draw, like away to Man.
Well, we've got a fairly tough draw in this one, haven't we? Fulham away ain't going to be easy. So
no,
that'd be a good test. Actually, it'd be a good test of how we're going to play in cup games.
Yeah, but I think if we can get to as far as we did when we met Sheffield United last year, I'd be very disappointed if we played weakened teams.
Well, interestingly, it took us a while to get going in Pochettino's first season. Yeah. But that season, we finished 5th and we got to the League Cup final.
Yeah, I went to that. That was very disappointing.
Yeah, I was there as well,
yeah, but yeah, it'd be interesting. Fortune favours the brave. If you're sitting back and defending and waiting for a 1-0, you've got to be going to attack, and you get your just desserts. And if you're known, which we will be, I mean, ignore the fact that there's easy ways to attack us, but if we're known as an attacking team, teams have got to set up with that in mind to try and stop us attacking, and that takes focus off. Well, let's just go and attack them.
And we're going to be unpredictable as well, I think, which is always an advantage.
Yeah, and with free kicks, corners. I mean, if Perisic comes on, he showed last season that he can deliver from those as well, left foot or right foot. Maddison has already shown this season, and in how many previous seasons he was at Leicester, that he can deliver good set pieces. Yeah, I think we'll score a lot of goals from corners. But yeah. Welcome back, Justin.
Hello, sorry about that.
That's right.
Joys of having family, eh?
Yeah, we were saying, or Brad was saying, top 6 would be a good season, 7th, 8th, probably around there. If we can get a good cup run, I don't think there's any excuse if we can get a good cup run, good draws, and get through to where we got against Sheffield United last year. I don't think there's any excuse to not do better. I cannot believe Ange will play a weekend team when we're playing weekend to weekend and not weekend Wednesday.
No, I think you're absolutely right with that.
It was the thing against Barcelona, though. That was literally our second team who did pretty well.
Yeah.
So I think
only when they made their changes and ran out of steam after about 70 minutes that it kind of fell apart.
I think our second string players aren't for once in their life are actually not that bad. So yeah, we've got. I'm not saying our squad's absolutely excellent, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
Although I've missed this one from Mark Cousins. Apologies, Mark, but scared to say it, but Sanchez tackling remind me a bit of King. Oh, that's the kiss of death.
Well, the thing about Sanchez, I'm sorry, but I still think we should sell him. He's played well the last 2 games. Yeah, I think his pace is good for Ange's system, but we've seen him have these revivals so many times. And if this is a rebuild, then why you got to start from scratch? Why keep the players? So, and
I've got no problem keeping him if he's well down the pecking order just for backup purposes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can understand as well why he didn't want to go to Russia, wherever it was.
Oh God, yeah.
I can completely understand that, even though people on Twitter were saying, "Oh, sod off, go to Russia." It's just
I can't believe we
I'm
even.
assuming these people haven't been reading the news for the last year and a bit.
I can't believe we even.
Welcome to Tottenham. We offer that, and then we hold a game for Ukraine. You just can't beat it, really.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Tottenham that we know and love, isn't it? This team.
Just about finished. But Justin, what are your predictions for the season? And are you excited that we'll actually see some attacking football, maybe a bit of a heart in your mouth football as well?
Yeah. So before everything sort of kicked off here, I was sort of more sitting there and thinking, looking at it, going, do you know what? It's going to be the window is still going to be key because we've got so many players to get out the door. I think we do need to make these additions, especially as we've just lost £100 million star striker. As it stands at this point, I think we'd be lucky to get top 8. I think if we got top 8, that would be a good season. Top 6 would be an amazing season. I think if we can get these additions in quick and they can settle in quick, we could be looking at definitely then getting top 6 football. But yeah, it's going to be heart in mouth stuff. I think it is going to be entertaining, but this is why it's clear that, the likes of Eric Dier, and I do understand where Brad is coming from in terms of Sanchez, because the amount of people I've seen waxing lyrical after one game, that he's back. It's like, well, we've seen this before with him. I still remember the time. Does everyone still remember the time where he's face planting the floor when Gundogan goes past him? It's that for every wonder moment there is a shocker. So I think the jury would have to be out a little bit, but if you told me it had to be a choice between him and Dier who stays, I think Dier has to go. But personally, as it stands at the moment, I would say I think top 10 would actually be fairly reasonable. If we get these players in and get those players out, we could be looking at top 6, definitely.
Yeah, and a cup run, I've put £1 on the League Cup and FA Cup because, like I say, after the 3-0 loss Bayern suffered against Leipzig,
you can take the Kane out. You can take the Kane out Spurs. You can't take the Spurs out. Okay.
I'm convinced that we're going to win a trophy before him.
That'll be the irony of ironies, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that would be. Yeah.
Probably holding up the trophy.
But I mean, we'll pretty much end there. Not a huge amount more to talk about. We've got the Man United game on Saturday, so that'll be Friday's show. That's Friday lunch hour. And Mark Cousins, I love your optimism. The treble is on, although very, very negative. No. Yeah, I was going to say the quadruple's on, but it isn't.
It's on until it's not. It's on until it's mathematically not.
But thanks everybody for watching.
Talking there.
But thanks. Well, the quadruple is on because we won that thing in
the Tiger Cup
pre-season.
The Tiger Cup, Go with the
quadruple, Mark. Quadruple. But thanks everybody for watching. All your comments, please hit the like, subscribe, notification bell. If you want to watch the replay. It's also available on podcasts as well. And check out Blue Sofa Songs, Brad's channel as well. What can people expect?
Basically, my passion, other passion in life is music. So I'm trying to write songs. So I play every instrument, play guitar, play bass, put drum loops in, play keyboards. I'm not saying I'm a good player, but I do all this stuff, just write songs. If you go onto Blue Sofa Songs on YouTube, there are, I think, about 39, 40 songs already on there. There's a song out every month now that I've got a job. It's just my other passion. On my views on things, my experiences, some bit of fun in there, some politics that you might not agree with. Then again, you might agree with it. That's up to you. But please check it out, Blue Sofa Songs, and please check these guys out as well.
Yeah, brilliant channel, Blue Sofa Songs. Been doing it for a little while now. Absolutely superb. And check out Chris's Magic as well. That's my side channel, Magic Trick once a week, tutorials as well. 7:30 p.m. UK time on Wednesdays. Justin, channels for you or just on streams as and when?
To be fair, I'm more sort of just joining on to others. As I say, it's difficult for me to do now these days, as you just saw. I'd love to say that those things aren't the norm, but it's the joys of this household. So I would say, things like this, what's it? Tommy Talks Sport or Tommy Talks Ball.
Hotspur Hood
and then
now.
I was at the Hotspur Hood. I couldn't remember. It'd been a while. So Hotspur Hood, and A View on Spurs and places like that. So I tend to just more sort of, if I get an opportunity, I'll jump on and things like that. I suppose I'm quite active on Twitter. I've been kind of trying to at the moment push with regards to the planned protests in terms of the Supporters Trust for the 19th. So I've been kind of trying to help them as best I can to try and make sure that more people are aware of it, so that we at least get a decent turnout than what we do normally get for these things. So but yeah, it will just be a case of, if I get an opportunity, I'll jump on somewhere like here and talk about the joys that is supporting this wonderful football club.
Excellent. Justin and Brad's Twitter handles are in the description as well. So if you want to find out where Justin's appearing on podcasts and streams, check out his Twitter handle. And like we said, please hit the like, subscribe, notification bell here. Chris's Magic and Blue Sofa Songs. Be back on Friday, the Friday lunch hour, previewing Manchester United game. But in the meantime, come on, you once again entertaining Spurs.
Ange's army.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching. For everybody who joined in the live chat and added comments, before you go, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, please hit that notification bell. That'll give you a notification every time we're about to go live, and it's all completely free. For those who missed the live show, you can catch this whenever you want on Let's Talk Tottenham's YouTube channel. Please also hit the like, subscribe and notification bell, and everybody please leave feedback, comments, suggestions in the comments section on the YouTube videos. For those of you who listen to the audio podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that audio podcast, you can pick that up wherever you get your podcast from. We're back Mondays 7:30pm UK time and Fridays 12:30pm UK time. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter @LTalkTottenham, Instagram Let's Talk Tottenham Podcast, you can find all the information there. Anyone who wants something a little bit different, also do a magic show. So I do one trick a week, which drops Wednesday 7:30pm UK time. Chris's Magic on YouTube is where you'll find that. But in the meantime, come on, you